G'day guys, I'm D-Mac from NBA Fantasy Bible, and along with me is Kayla Fonte, and together we're Between Two Hoops. Kayla, how are you going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing really well. What a busy week it's been. That's the end of week 2. How did you go with your matchups?
I did a lot better this week. I think I won the majority of them, so I'll take it. How
Very
about you?
good, very good. Mixed bag, sort of 50-50 split, which is a little bit disappointing, seeing that most of my guys are remaining healthy. So a lot to unravel. We've got a few episodes coming up, but the first one that we're getting into is buy lows and sell highs. Shall we get straight into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Headlined by Freddie Van Vliet. So buy lows. Fred Van Vliet, look at that ranking. NICAT ranking per hashtag basketball, 121st for the season. I know we're only 2 weeks in, small sample size, but he's looked really down. What's going on with Fred Van Vliet?
Yeah, it's been rough. He's not a very high scoring player, as we saw last year with the Rockets. But I mean, it was rough. I think he was averaging less than 10 points last week alone. So that's definitely not what managers expected to see, especially when a lot of people were so high on him and drafting him in the second and third round in the draft. So even the playmaking hasn't really been there either. It could just be a rough spell for him. So hopefully that's something that changes soon. But now would be the perfect time to capitalize on that buy low.
Absolutely. And we'll have a bit more of a deep dive on Freddie shortly. But moving on to Tyrese Halliburton, much improved week compared to week 1. But I believe that buy low opportunity is still there. That window is still open. The assists are down. The scoring is down. It's just not the same Tyrese Halliburton that we're used to.
Especially for a first round pick too. You're expecting a lot more than what he's providing right now. And I think he'll get there at some point. It's just taking him a little bit longer to ramp up.
Yeah, and we saw his assist come back, probably not with a vengeance, but did come back to somewhat of normality in week 2. But yeah, still a great opportunity to get Tyrese Halliburton for a discount at this stage, in my opinion. Zion Williamson, now he missed the last game for the New Orleans Pelicans. You look at that points league rank of 26, that's decent, but look at that 9-cat ranking of 237th. That's a little bit putrid, but of course we know that he's a punt free throw guy, but it's actually the field goal percentage, which he's renowned for being high 50s, if not 60% sort of shooter there. Very disappointing so far this season.
Yeah, he's gotten off to a very underwhelming start, but the good thing is that the Pelicans have a lot of injuries, so there's also a good opportunity for him to turn things around and possibly be a sell high, but the window I think is very very small for being a buy low, especially just with the opportunities that he has.
I think so, and we know that the Pelicans are banged up at the moment, so I would expect him to turn it around really quickly. Brandon Ingram's really taken a step up in the absence of DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy still to come back in, a few other guys as well. So, yeah, pretty banged up at the moment, so I'd expect Zion to turn that around very quick smart. Now, Larry Markkinen, this is an interesting one. We say that he's a buy low, but I'm somewhat cautious. I don't want to buy too high. It has to be really low just because we know of the struggles that Utah are going through at the moment, and it's looking like they are tanking really hard at this stage.
Yeah, and with Markkanen too, like already seeing the injuries going on, I think that's really worrying a lot of people. Everyone knows that he likes to rest down the stretch. So to see this right now and the injuries already piling up, it's very concerning. And I feel like a lot of managers will be eager to offload him.
I do expect him to get back onto the court this week,
Hmm.
perhaps even in the next game, but a NICAT ranking of 146 when we're actually used to a per game ranking in the top 20, top 30 at the very worst over the last couple of seasons. So 146, I think that presents some value, but again, buyer beware, just be a little bit cautious on how high you're actually going to go with the buy low, I guess, just because of the Utah Jazz situation. Miles Bridges, now, yeah, he was someone that we were really high on last season, but he's really plummeted this season. What's going on with Miles Bridges?
I think it's just a team being healthy right now. LaMelo Ball is obviously so far healthy. He's been a leader on the team, of course. Brandon Miller is also back now. He missed a couple of games, but even then, Miles Bridges wasn't 100% performing. He had a rough couple of last games, and I think it's just adjusting to having the team fully healthy and the new dynamics. Something to watch out for. I don't think that he's going to have this ranking for the rest of the season. I'm projecting top 60 player.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, Brandon Miller's been out. Trey Mann stepped up in Miller's absence. Perhaps that's just changed the dynamic a little bit. Miles Bridges, a lot of people were thinking, "Wow, we're gonna have LaMelo around him. He's gonna be better." People saw that in previous seasons with the two of them just having that nice synergy, but it hasn't really worked out that way. But I think you're right. A long way to go. 2 weeks into the season, so 172nd, I think that's definitely gonna go up and really quick smart. Miles Turner, 153, and we know that he's a top 50 guy, a perennial top 50 guy, and that's off the back of a lot of his blocks. But 153rd at this stage, I think there's a real good opportunity to buy low on him.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely gonna turn this around too. We all know what to expect from someone like Turner. Some of his numbers have been down over the past few games, but it's still very early as well, but still a good opportunity to buy low.
Not to mention, there's some injuries to
Mm.
the backup centers as well. So obviously, some season-ending injuries. Isaiah Jackson went down just the other day as well. So I expect Miles Turner's minutes to really increase. So that rank of 153, I would take off that one, and it's probably more like a 53 in weeks to come. Jamal Murray, he's in the concussion protocol at the moment, but so far a 9-cat ranking of 112, points league ranking of 80th at the moment. But he's a lot of people were cognizant of the fact that he really had a poor Olympics and he just looked really poor in the preseason as well. So that's carried over somewhat into the regular season.
Yeah, and even in the past, like, he's had so many health issues that I think a lot of managers, like, already seeing, like, that he's in concussion protocols and dealing with a serious or not totally serious, but more significant injury, something like this, it's gonna deter them from holding on to them, and you'd probably be more willing to let go of him now.
How high do you think he'll get, Jamal Murray? Can he get back into the top 50?
I don't know about top 50, but I think he'll hover around that territory, probably around top 60-ish, I wanna say, closer to
Yeah.
that, if he stays healthy.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Nick Claxton slowly ramping up, but for those that aren't fully aware of that process, 157th in 9-cat, 114th in points leagues, it looks like a steal at this stage. If you can get him for even a top 100 guy, I think you're doing well.
Yeah, and like you said, it's gonna take a little bit longer for him to completely ramp up, and the Nets aren't competing this season, so they're gonna be careful with him. They're not gonna rush anything right away.
So in that case, if they are being careful with him, and it is the Nets, the tanking Nets, do you think it's much of a buy low at this stage? Is it again a very similar situation to Larry Markin? Is it buyer beware?
I think it is a little bit, but I expect his stats to go up for, like, the middle of the season. It's more so the end when the tanking really happens that I would be more concerned with.
Right. Yusuf Nurkic, another big man, but that 9-cat ranking of 304th, that's outrageous. How do we explain that?
That's rough. I mean, the offensive production just has not been there at all. And he had one good rebounding game recently. I believe he got 15, but he's only gotten double-digit rebounds twice so far, and that's really concerning. He's known for that. The blocks haven't really been there either, so it's not looking good. But I mean, the
Yeah,
Suns are a stacked team.
they're a stacked team and so many more options on that team at the moment as well. But yeah, it's the rebounds that we rely on him for, the minutes as well. Sometimes he's splitting those minutes at center. So that's something to keep an eye on. But 304th, again, I think he's definitely a hold. Do not drop him. But it's a buy low opportunity for those that are looking for a center and possibly could get one for quite cheap. Josh Giddey, a lot of hype coming into this season, moving from the OKC Thunder to the Chicago Bulls. 182nd, but in points leagues, 64th. So a lot of that is attributed just to poor efficiency.
Yeah, the efficiency doesn't really matter as much in points leagues, which is why there's that big discrepancy. I'm not super worried though. He's someone who I was really high on heading into the season, and I think he just has a better position than he did with the Thunder last year. So I kind of want to wait and see how that rolls out.
Yeah, and we've talked about it several times, just around that backcourt depth that the Bulls have. We know that they tend not to operate quickly when it comes to trading guys. Levine's always in trade rumors. Kobe White will take a step up as well if Levine is to be moved. But yeah, Josh Giddey, I think it's onwards and upwards for him. But he has looked really solid in the counting stats so far this season. Now, we spoke about Fred VanVleet in a bit more of a deep dive situation, but look at his numbers this season compared to last. And I think there's a lot more room for improvement here. So as we said, he's ranked 121st in 9-cat, where last season he was 23rd per hashtag basketball. The minutes this season are actually higher than what they were last season, but look at the other numbers. They're all in the red. Lower points, 5 points less this season. less threes, less rebounds. The assists, significant decrease on last season as well. Steals about right, so about the same as last season. So he's still active on defense, but it's on the offensive end that he's really struggling right now.
Yeah, it's been rough. I mean, the points, like, we don't expect obviously 20 plus points per game every single time, but still like 12. And maybe part of that could be attributed to Jalen Green stepping up a little bit more, but still, like this can't continue.
Yeah, and we saw in the last season he had some last game, I should say, had some foul trouble. When we saw Tari Eason, who I was really high
Mhm.
on coming into, well, as a dynasty prospect, maybe not so much coming into this season, but he's been a tremendous pickup for those this week, and we'll go into our ads and drops in another episode coming up very shortly. But look at the blocks as well. We know that Fred VanVleet, for his stature, is one of the best blocking little men in the league, but 0.8 blocks per game last season at 0.2. And it doesn't look like it's a huge deal, but that's a significant decrease. So that, of course, drops his overall 9-cat ranking. But the field goal percentage, we know he's not going to be a high field goal percentage guy, but 28.2% on the season's deplorable.
Yep, and it's still early too, at least, so he has plenty of time to turn things around. Yet hopefully it happens soon.
Yeah, so he's probably our biggest buy low guy coming into next week at the moment. But yeah, keep that one in mind. Some more buy low opportunities. Jimmy Butler, 108th and 9-cat, 43rd in points league, which is quite good for him. So again, that comes down to his efficiency, but it's the free throws where we rely on him being a 80+% free throw shooter. He's below that mark significantly this season.
Yeah, it's always been the efficiency that seems to cause the most differences between 9-cat and points league rankings. But I'd say he has looked a lot better this season than he did last year. A lot of inconsistencies, injuries, and things like that. And obviously, he was dealing with personal issues as well. Um, I expect bigger things for Jimmy Butler. Still plenty of time, like we've said before.
Plenty of time, and plenty of time for Drew Holiday as well. We know Kristaps
Mm.
Porzingis is out for probably a couple more months. So I would expect all of the Boston Celtics to step up, but it hasn't been that way for Drew. We've seen it with with Jason Tatum. We've seen it with Jalen Brown. We've seen it with Peyton Pritchard, but we haven't seen it with
Mhm.
Drew.
Yeah, and it's been very surprising too, especially with Porzingis out. You would expect all of the starters to really take that leap, and pretty much all of them have, except for Holiday right now. Most notable, like the stocks haven't really been there. He's known for his defensive abilities, and last week he didn't really provide much. Assists, rebounds have also been down too.
Do you think he can get into the top 100?
I think he can. That's certainly achievable, especially while Porzingis is still out for at least another month. So there's still plenty of time for him to reach that mark.
Absolutely. Now, the next one's interesting. Ivica Zubats, he looked awesome in the first few games, but that 123 9-cat ranking, I think that's a little bit deceptive. Look at that points league ranking, though, 33. So I think that's probably more indicative of his value at the moment. But again, it comes down to his free throw percentage. And if you're big on those sort of stats and how it impacts your 9-cat ranking, 123, it looks gross, particularly as a lot of people were drafting him quite high up, knowing that he would step up this season, and he has. But just the free throws are really hurting his 9-cat overall ranking.
Yeah, I'm not super worried about that either, just because he has that big opportunity. Obviously, with Kawhi out, he's taken a bigger step offensively. So yeah, it's the free throw percentage, especially if you're punting that category. It's not really a significant concern for you.
Yeah, I'd say it's a buy low. If people are watching him, it's not a buy low because they know that he's playing really well at the moment. But if you are truly just watching your 9-cat rankings and that's all you're looking at, then I think it's a great opportunity to buy low and going, hey, guy, he's hurting your free throws. Offload him to me, and you'll be getting a steal. So yeah, you could be playing that one really nicely. Alperen Sengun, similar situation, but he looked um, he looked underdone in the last game against the Warriors. What's going on with Shangun at the moment?
Maybe that was due to the injury. That's the main thing that I can think that's causing that. But it's just like a wait and see game. I think as he ramps up a little bit more, he'll be fine. We all know what he's capable of. He's a mini Jokic, right?
He's a mini Jokic, and I think that's why he is on his buy low list. Yeah, it's onwards and upwards for Shangun right now, and even that points league ranking, that's that's definitely on the up as well. So buy low where you can. Rudy Gobert, 90th and 9 cat, 91st in points. Take us through the buy low here.
Yeah, this one's been a bit surprising, especially with Cat gone. The blocks just haven't really been there the last week. A lot of numbers down. I believe his percentages, his free throw percentage was also quite down, which is a little bit. No, sorry, field goal percentage was down, which was a little bit surprising. Maybe that's due to the addition of Julius Randle as well, affecting his abilities on the defensive end. Taking time to just mesh with him a little bit more. Not super worried. Obviously, like I said, Cat is gone, so the opportunity is still there. But it's also getting used to Randall alongside him in the front court.
Yeah, absolutely. Tobias Harris, we were big on him coming into this season. Just greater opportunity in Detroit. Slow start, but the last game he looked much better.
Yeah, he's starting to look better now. Obviously, off to a very slow start. He is coming from the Philadelphia 76ers as well, so it's a new team for him, taking some time to adjust. Cunningham has been healthy. Ivy's really stepped up. There's a lot of players in their front court as well. And his scoring has been the biggest concern. It hasn't really been there, low teens at the most that we've seen. Um, Plenty of time, right? And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of more injuries on the Pistons as well, so there'll be opportunities for him to step up.
Speaking of injuries, the last three, I'm going to get you to take us through these ones because you've sent these buy lows to myself. But Kyle Kuzma, who's currently out, Scotty Barnes, and Paolo Banchero, they've got longer term injuries. Take us through these buy lows.
Yeah, with Kyle Kuzma, I believe he's coming back soon, so it's not as significant as the Barnes and Banchero injuries, but still, even before he was injured, he was a buy low opportunity. He was on our list last week.
Mhm.
His only production has really been like points and rebounds. He hasn't really done much outside of that. And I think the injury just adds to him being a buy low right now, especially as people are a little bit impatient sometimes. It's the same with the Scotty Barnes and Paolo Banchero. They're out for longer periods of time. Banchero, I believe, is 4 to 6 weeks, whereas Barnes is 3 weeks. But that's still a big chunk of the season. So a lot of people who don't want to wait should be willing to offload them at a better price.
I like it. I like it. Now, you mentioned Kyle Kuzma, and we're going to get to sell highs in a minute, but yeah, Bilal, our boy Bilal Coulibaly, he's been dominant for the Wizards, but also Jordan Poole, another one of our guys. But let's take it to the sell highs, headlined by Jordan Poole. Of course, he's just had somewhat of a renaissance. He had a very disappointing last season. We spoke about this almost nonstop in the preseason, but yeah, we knew that coming into this season, he was going to play at point guard, but it's the efficiency. And again, we'll deep dive on Jordan Poole shortly, but 9 cat ranking of 7th. That's unbelievable. Thanks, hashtag basketball again, but 7th at the moment. When you compare some of his stats to last season, I think in 9cat he was in the, I think 152nd in 9cat, and we'll get to that shortly. But 7th right now, unsustainable. Thoughts on Jordan
Oh,
Poole?
definitely. Well, even in the last 2 months of the season, I believe he was ranked top 80. So we didn't even really see this value then. But it's definitely unsustainable. But it's definitely a good period to capitalize on it, especially with Malcolm Brogdon injured.
Yeah, we'll go through his numbers shortly, but it's the steals, it's the shooting
Mm.
efficiency. Yeah, unsustainable, but awesome to see right now. So if you can't sell high on him, just enjoy the wave, just ride it, and yeah, enjoy. Next one is Cat. New environment over in New York, doing really well. And he was another guy that we're quite high on, but 4th overall in 9cat. We didn't think that he'd be this good right now.
Oh, definitely not. I was projecting more like second round value, but this has
Mhm.
been more than welcome to see, especially because I own him in multiple leagues. But all of his numbers are up, or pretty much most of them, which is great to see, especially while they're dealing with a lot of injuries at their 5 spot.
Yeah, and he had one monster game where he had 40 plus points as well. And yeah, he's shooting the ball well, rebounding well, of course. He's predominantly the only big center on that list as well. But yeah, Carl Anthony Towns, I don't think he can keep it up. But again,
Mhm.
similar to the Jordan Poole situation, if you can't sell high for a first rounder, just enjoy it because I think, as you said, he'll maintain second round value at least, at the very minimum. Nikola Vucevic. Now, it's not the Nikola that we're used to talking about, but Nikola Vucevic for the Bulls, 8th in 9cat right now and 23rd in points league. Of course, we talk about the Bulls and just the constant trade rumors around Vucevic and Levine. But 8th right now, I think it's a great sell high opportunity.
Yeah, it's not gonna get better than that, and that's the main thing, and then like you said, there's a lot of trade rumors around him, so in the middle of the season, that's when things are gonna start to heat up, people are gonna get uncertain, but when he's at the peak of his value right now, that's the time to sell high.
Yep, it's the time to strike right now. And yeah, you may miss out on some awesome value over the next few weeks, but if you can get yourself a top 40 guy, you'd go and do that right now. So enjoy it, but if you can, try to sell high. Jalen Suggs, now it's the defensive prowess that's really boosted his numbers this season, but he's looking good. He's a two-way player now. He looks so good offensively.
Yeah, honestly, he's had some really high scoring games, which has been surprising, especially because the Magic are very deep at the backcourt spot. Obviously, it helps having Paolo Banchero out for a little bit longer so he can take a bigger step offensively. So I'm curious to see if he can maintain this value a little while longer while that star player is out.
Yeah, we've seen Anthony Black step up, but not offensively. I think he's been running the show a little bit, but Jalen Suggs has needed to step up in Paolo Banchero's absence. Obviously, there's no Markel Fultz there this season as well, which helps Jalen Suggs' value. But yeah, he's really taken it upon himself to try to get the Magic through these games while Paolo Banchero is sidelined. So yeah, really good opportunity to sell high on Jalen Suggs. Brandon Ingram, we spoke about the plethora of injuries that the Pelicans have. So again, Brandon Ingram, he's a sell high.
Yeah, and he's looked really good. Last season we've had issues with consistency, staying on the court, but now with the Pelicans dealing with so many injuries, he can really just lead the team right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's that 1-2 punch with Zion that we're expecting, but I wouldn't expect
Mhm,
DeJounte Murray to be out too much longer. I'm thinking maybe 2, possibly 3 weeks. So these
mhm.
guys are going to come back soon. Trey Murphy should be back within the next week, maybe week and a half as well. So they're banged up right now, but I expect them to be close to full strength in the not too distant future. So absolutely time to sell high on Brandon Ingram. Dennis Schroeder, I think last game was very disappointing, but that first week of the season was awesome, and he's still a sell high right now.
Yeah, and it was really surprising too, especially with the return of Ben Simmons, how that whole lineup was going to shape up. But I mean, they're both been starting together. He's still been able to provide high quality points, assists, threes. He's really been doing it all, and it's been impressive. So I think he can maintain maybe not this high of value, but top 50 maybe. What do you think?
I think top 50, while things aren't in a complete shambles in Brooklyn at
Mhm.
the moment, and we know that Cam Thomas is very popular coming into this season. Ben Simmons is popular as a late round pick, and we're seeing that he's sitting out back to backs. He'll sit out the next game on the back to back as well. So, yeah, I think Dennis Schroeder is going to be a safe, easy top 100. But you said top 50. I wouldn't be surprised if he maintains that for the next few weeks. But eventually, come the end of season, I would expect him to have probably, I won't say minimal, but a lot less of an impact with the
Yep.
Brooklyn Nets. Aaron Gordon. Now, we expect him to be a punt free throw guy, but a 9 cat ranking of 33 is unfathomable. Even during his glory days and high usage days in Orlando, I don't think we saw him this high. Maybe we did for 1 week way back in Orlando, but yeah, it's been quite good to see.
Yeah, it's been amazing, especially because in a lot of leagues, like he went undrafted or he was a last round pick. So to be able to
Mm.
get this value in return, I mean, how long can he sustain it for? Jamal Murray is in concussion protocols, like we mentioned, so we'll have to see how many games he'll be out for. But he has that period of elevated value, and he's providing it.
He is. And we spoke about Bilal Koulibaly, one of our guys, French youngster. And we're going to speak about a few Washington Wizards shortly, but Koulibaly's been awesome. And it's just been his efficiency, but his real just step up in overall responsibilities for that young Wizards side.
He is really taking that sophomore leap, and it's been so welcome to see. He's looking more confident, which is key. His roster percentage still isn't what it should be either, so he's also an ad in addition to a sell high.
He is an ad, and we'll go through that on one of our other shows with our ads and drops and um, holds watch list, guys. But yeah, he's only, I think, he's less than 50% owned right now. So that needs to change quick
Mhm.
smart. So he's looked absolutely awesome. While Kyle Kuzma is sidelined, he's just going to continue doing what he's doing right now at a very high level. Jakob Poeltl, one of your guys in Toronto, again, fantastic start to the season. Contrary to how he was behaving in some early preseason press conferences, he does care at the moment, and he's looking really impressive.
Yeah, he's had a lot of really monster double doubles, which has looked great. Yeah, the comments weren't fantastic, but I mean, he's starting to change people's minds now about how they think about him. So we'll take it.
You'll definitely take it. Now, Peyton Pritchard, you'll take this as well. A guy coming off
Mhm.
the bench, but he's looked electric. We know that Al Horford's going to sit back to backs. We know that the superstars like Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum will start sitting some games out as well, just because they are so good and they are so loaded. But Peyton Pritchard, I do have a typo there, by the way. It's not Peyton Pritchard, but Peyton Pritchard has looked amazing, close to a top 50 guy in 9 cap.
And that's definitely been unexpected. I can't say I was going to see this coming for sure. But now is the time to sell high on him, especially with Porzingis potentially returning sometime in December. So I think that's really going to hurt his value a little bit, especially with Al Horford going to be pushed to the bench. But he's still been carving out a really nice role for himself, despite that really stacked starting lineup. So that's been impressive. Hats off to him.
Hats off to him indeed, shooting about 4 3-pointers a game, which is you can't find that every day off the waiver wire. I know 3 pointers are probably the easiest to get, but getting such a high amount of threes is pretty unsustainable by most guys. But yeah, he's looked really good so far. Another guy that's come back and looked really good is RJ Barrett. Take us through one of your guys.
He has been fantastic, and I am loving it too. And it's really great to see that really high 9 cat ranking because when I was like preaching on him before the season started, a lot of people weren't as convinced in category leagues. In
Hmm.
points, it's a different story because, like we said, the efficiency doesn't matter as much, but the efficiency has looked solid so far. So I'm happy
This
with
looks
that,
solid. It has
right?
looked solid, but look at that points league ranking of 11. That's
11. That's
crazy good.
nuts. But it's also with obviously Quickly being injured, Barnes being injured, so he's really taken the reins of this team.
Yep.
That's something that's going to continue for a while. But even after those guys returned, I'm not really worried about his value. I think he's in for a big season.
I think quickly returns shortly. It could be the next game. So we'll wait
I
and see
believe
on
I
that
believe
one,
he
but
was listed as doubtful, but he's close
doubtful.
to returning, I would assume.
He's close to returning. So I'd expect him within the week. So RJ Barrett, definitely time to sell high on him. Scotty Barnes has a few weeks on the sideline, so he'll still retain some value. But that's a nice segue into Big Dick, Grady Dick here. Another one of your guys looking fantastic, close to top 50 again. So there's 3 guys in the top 50.
Mhm.
Amazing.
That's great to see. And yeah, Dick, I mean, he's really taken the bigger step offensively. Obviously because they need that offensive firepower from someone, and Dick's been the one to provide it, especially that three-point shooting too. He's not the most versatile player, but he can give you those offensive stats.
Yeah, and sometimes that's very difficult to find off the waiver wire. And he
Mhm.
has, as we mentioned last week, given us a lot of pleasure in just saying his name and coming up with all sorts of different puns. So hats off to Grady Dick. Now, we said we'd do a little bit more of a deep dive on our guy, Jordan Poole. Look at the ranking, 7th this season, 132nd. I was mistaken, not 150, but 132nd in 9 cat last season. He's playing at a really high level. So look at all that green this season compared to last. The only thing that he's lacking, I won't say lacking, but reduced off of last season is his rebounds, but also, of course, his turnovers. That's expected for a higher usage guy. And he's really taken the reins at point guard and with this really young Wizards team. But yeah, those 3 pointers, 4.4 3 pointers per game. 2.8 steals per game is just extremely unsustainable. Just look at some of the footage as well. But 2.8 steals per game, 0.6 blocks per game as well, which is really surprising.
Yeah, the defensive stats will certainly come down a little bit, but I think he could still average maybe 1.5-ish steals per game. I think that's a lot more reasonable for him. Even the threes too. I think it was nearly 4.5 per game. I think that comes down a little bit, but I mean, even last season he was a good source of points, threes, and even steals too. And he's looked just fantastic so far this season. So it's great to see him finally turning things around.
An absolutely elite free throw percentage. We expect that from him, but he's
Mhm.
barely missed a shot, 94.4% on the season, which is unbelievable. But yeah, Jordan Poole, absolute poster boy for the sell high right now. Unsustainable. But again, I'm going to enjoy it because I don't think I can sell him for close to what I think he's worth. So I'm going to really enjoy it. But if you can sell high, do so, please. But yeah, he's great to watch right now. All right, Kayla, that's it for our buy lows and sell highs. Any final words?
Yeah, main thing is just keep monitoring the rankings, but remember that the rankings aren't exactly everything. Also look at the stats too, because even with the case of Zubak, for example, the free throw percentage was really dragging him down in the rankings, but he's still been providing great value all around. So they could be deceiving.
Absolutely. Now, of course, you can find us on Twitter. You can find Kayla at Kayla_Fonte. You can find myself at NBA Fantasy Bible. Don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube video. But until next time, guys, thank you very much. Thanks, Kayla.